Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all the students are okay. That's pretty good. Well, I hope that you must have tried to understand phonetics and phonology, and since we are in the middle of the semester, and I'm sure that you must have come across many new terms rather, the terminology which we talked about during the first session, that you shall come across different terms so far as phonetics and phonology are concerned. And I'm sure that some of you, rather most of you, this is my expectation from you, must have started to think about them, try to understand them, and try to apply. I hope that when I started talking about in the first session, that please stay calm. The most important thing is that you have to stay calm. It's very important that you have to stay calm and you have to concentrate on what you are listening to. For example, if you are talking about the basics of phonetics, or for example, if you're talking about the branches of phonetics like articulatory phonetics or acoustic phonetics or auditory phonetics, remember we have to concentrate on those branches. We don't have to talk about phonology, for example, if we are listening to the branches or listening about the branches of phonetics. So similarly, what happens that if we are talking about the branches of phonetics and we start talking about phonology, so the things are in fact, they are all the time interfering each other. So we have to separate whatever we are listening, and of course we have to leave it all the things till the next session or sessions. So this is my humble suggestion to all my students, that whatever you are listening during one session, you have to concentrate on that. And since we are in the middle of the semester, it's very important now not to get confused, because confusion, in fact, when it prevails, it creates many problems for the students. And now this is the time that we have to show and demonstrate some sort of maturity, in the sense that whatever is in front of us, we have to understand that comprehensively. Of course, there are certain questions, and when we are in the when we are in the Google class, you can just ask as many questions you want. But at the same time, one thing is very much imperative for all the students, and that is that you have to do self-assessment component. Right? That's very important. If you do not do, what happens, in fact, that you forget the things. Since you have got many courses around you, most of the, 5 or 6 instructors are involved in teaching you or in trying to make the concepts clear regarding their allocated courses. So it's very important, but I understand that we have to make folders. We have to get ourselves engaged in different kind of activities or certain home tasks, whatever it is, right? So I hope that you're with me. So let's start our today's session. Our today's session is session number 17. And remember, from this session, of course, not only this session, from session number 16, we have started talking about phonology. Let's see what we have to talk about today, okay? Well, we have two components to talk about today. The first one is we have to understand the traditional sounds of English. Definitely, we should try to analyze each and every sound. And the second thing is that we have to elaborate the difference or the comparison between phonetics and phonology. So today we have got two important components. One is to understand the traditional sounds of English, and the second one is that we have to elaborate if we say there is a comparison between phonetics and phonology. All right, these are our two components for today's session, and that is session number 17. All right. Now, I want you to recall the traditional 44 sounds of English. May I call them phonemes now? I told you still remember that there are 24 consonants and 20 vowel sounds. I also tried to tell you, for example, when I talked about these traditional sounds of the phonemes of English during session number 16, and of course before that I told you that to understand phonology or phonemes, for the time being, you have to forget the English alphabet, which are 26. So, yes. And out of 26, we have got 21 consonants whereas we have got 5 vowels, the traditional A, E, I, O and U. Now for the time being we have to forget them. This is what I told you. And now what we need to understand are, alright, there are 24 consonants and we have had the complete analysis of understanding the consonant sounds and the vowel sound. At the same time, I told you that when we have 24 consonant sounds, we have 20 vowel sounds, then we try to subdivide the vowel sounds. For example, the pure vowels, you can call them monophthong. And then you have to talk about diphthongs, of course the two sounds together. And of course at the same time I also talked about the triphthongs, the 3 vowel sounds together. But for now what is important to understand that we have got 44 traditional sounds of English. Of course these are phonemes. Since we are talking about English phonology, that's why it is important and imperative to understand first of all these. Remember, without understanding them, without knowing what is the sign of each and every phoneme and what is the sound one produces, it is difficult to understand phonological concepts. Okay? I was talking about the symbols, signs. You can see in front of you, this is what we say International Phonetic Alphabet symbols. For the moment you have vowel sounds or the vowel phonemes or the symbols which we call vowels in front of you. And these are pure vowels. You can count them. There's a table in front of you. Now what I have done for you is that on the left side you can see that there is a symbol. In front of that 2 or 3 or maybe more than 3 words are there. And I have underlined some parts of the word where you can have this particular sound. Now let's start with this. What are vowels? Please, you have to say the things after me. Whenever I say, please say after me, you have to say after me, okay? Alright, here I go. I. Pin. English. Business. A. Bed. Head. Berry. Exit. Air. Cat. Bag. Apple. Black. The. Woman. Banana. So it is not banana, it is banana. The next sound is U. Look. Put. Could. Cushion. Oh. Clock. What? Because. On the right side now. Ah. Cut. Come. Mother. Girl. Burn. Word. Heard. Car. Art. Heart. Half. O. O, board, door, small. E, C, B, people, receive. O, two, blue, fruit, fool. Now let's talk about diphthongs, international phonetic alphabet symbols. You have in front of you the diphthongs of English. Say after me. A, take, pay, wait, I, five, side, hide, oi, noise, boy, lawyer, oh, no, road, broken. The next one is ow, round, renown, doubt, ear, here, dear, dear, air, care, air, prayer, poor, ensure, tour. Remember, this is what we find. For example, I told you and I named Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary. Do you remember? If you try to look up any word, if you want to consult the dictionary, remember there are two types of pronunciation you can have. One is the British pronunciation, the other one is the American, of course, North American pronunciation. So what I'm trying to present before you is the British pronunciation. So if there is some sort of misunderstanding, you can just consult the dictionary. That makes no difference at all. At the same time, you can go for Google search. Now you just put the word over there and you can have the meaning and the pronunciation. Is it clear? It is possible if it is the American English, so the American pronunciation is heard. But what I'm trying to do is that I'm presenting before you the British English. It is possible. I'm not a native speaker of English. Remember, I'm not a native speaker of English, but what I'm trying to do is that, of course, the model that is in front of me, that's why. You might have seen when I'm saying care, here, poor, so I am dropping R sound. So there is sometimes it is possible. I'm talking about the possibility that there could be some sort of confusion. So please do not get confused at any time, because I told you and I'm telling you again that in the British English, remember, R sound is dropped. But there is a rule behind that. If there is a sound, consonant sound, following R sound, of course it is dropped. But if R is followed by a vowel sound, it is not dropped. Is it clear? Okay. This time, the consonant sounds, the symbols are in front of you. International phonetic alphabet symbols. And we have with us now consonants. Let's start. I hope you're with me. Please say after me. P, play, stop, speak, power, B, bad, baby, big, object, ten, later, little, pot, day, advice, bed, character, quick, taxi, go, got, exam, ignore, finger, food, laugh, telephone, van, over, Stephen, thin, earth, method, both, they, father, breathe, with, small, since, seen, psalm, zoo, goes, xenophobe, shell, nation, machine. The next sound is je, genre, measure, vision, hot, hair, whole, whose, moon, lamb, can, snow, pneumonia, string, singer, tongue, chair, match, future, just, general, age, soldier, look, small, bottle, aisle, real, train, wrong, right, yes, Europe, university, window, twin, quick, why? I hope that you must have tried, not at this time, but of course when you get free time, please, this is my request, that you have to listen these symbols, of course, this demonstration again and again. And at the same time, the best practice I can suggest is that you have to listen to the demonstration, start writing the sign, and then produce the sound. At the same time, it's very important that when you are just demonstrating by yourself, what you need to do is that you have to mention some keywords so that you may understand, all right, this is the word that contains that particular sound. And the best practice is that you can underline that spot, that place where you can feel, all right, the sound is very much here. Now we have to talk about the comparison between phonetics and phonology. You've got a table in front of you. Can you see that? All right. Now, there are, you can say that a major 4 differences are here. Right, when we talk about the comparison, it is possible that you have seen this slide before, but remember, each time when we just show something which we have already seen, that means that needs some more analysis, and that's why I have presented this slide before you now. Now look at the table. Let's talk about first of all phonetics. Phonetics is the basis for phonological analysis. I still remember I told you in session number 2 and 1 at the same time. Now what happens when we try to understand phonetics? That means we are trying to understand the common concepts. The common concepts of as the speech production is concerned. That could be of any language. But for your understanding's sake, what I did, that I tried my level best to bring English. Why? Because once we understand, all right, we're not talking about German or French or any other language. We are since concerned with English language. So that's why time and again I talked about English. I tried to present whatever the example I could from English language. So remember, I told you that understanding phonetics, or the concepts behind phonetics, in fact, we are trying to understand, all right, what are the basis of phonological analysis, and do these concepts help us? Yes, exactly, these concepts help us. For example, we should be knowing what are the speech organs participating during the production of English phonemes. And you have seen, for example, when we were talking about the symbols or the phonemes of English in the last 2 previous slides, you must have seen, for example, when I said f, v. All right, this is what we have done so far as the analysis is concerned of these 2 particular sounds. So now we understand, all right, it was all right, it was absolutely okay when we were talking about, or we were referring to English language. So phonetics, in fact, is the basis for phonological analysis. And then when we talk about phonology, when we are comparing this concept, remember, phonology is the basis for further work in morphology, syntax, discourse, and orthographic design. Orthographic design, when we write something, okay? Morphology, we talk about morphemes. Syntax, we try to use the words based on morphemes, of course, and then, of course, that is used in the connected speech. Then let's talk about phonetics again. Remember, phonetics analyzes the production of human speech sounds, regardless of language. This is what I told you. We have to try that what are the speech organ, what is the mechanism, what is the airstream mechanism inside that is working all the time when we are producing sound. We were not trying to particularize any language, but for the example's sake, I brought English for you people so that you may understand, because it is very important. We have to go for the understanding of phonology, and this is what we are trying to do now. And then opposing that, you can see in the next table, in the next column, phonology analyzes the sound patterns of a particular language. All right? So as phonetics is concerned, we are talking about any human language, but here we have to particularize a particular language by, number 1, determining which phonetic sounds are significant and explaining how these sounds are interpreted by the native speaker. Remember, I told you time and again, when you talk about Urdu language, now we are just speaking Urdu. We do not know, in fact, what we are doing. But if somebody is asking us who is not, who is the learner of Urdu language, and if asks you, all right, how do you produce b sound or b sound. So you are in the position to tell him. It is possible that you do not know exactly so far as the terms are concerned. So these are the basic things you must be remembering. Okay. Now I want you to have a glance on this slide. Now, what is the relationship, in fact, the branches of linguistics are phonetics and phonology. Now, what happens, in fact? We have got speech sounds, on the other side we have got mutually dependent, right? And then we have got insight into languages. We talked about, for example, phonetics, and when we say phonetics, we are talking about all human languages and how the sound are produced, how they are transmitted, and how they are received or perceived, right? But remember, when we talk about speech sounds, what are the speech sounds? We are not talking about any particular language. But when we talk about any particular language, that means we are talking about phonology. But remember, when you talk about only phonetics, that is not to particularize any language. That is to generally understand what is the way to produce a sound. It could be any language. It could be Russian, it could be Arabic, it could be French, it could be German, whatever the language it is. That makes no difference at all. We must be understanding the speech mechanism, in fact. But when we talk about phonology, remember, we talk about the speech, of course, the phonemes, because we are particularizing. And this time we have particularized that since we are talking about English language. And that's why we try to understand in the previous slides what are the phonemes so far as international phonetic alphabet symbols are concerned. All right? Well, what we have gained so far. Let's talk about phonetics first of all. Remember, in order to produce sound, humans use various body parts, including the lips, tongue, teeth, pharynx, and lungs. I want you to recall, when we talk about phonetics, in order to produce sound, humans use various body parts, including the lips, tongue, teeth, pharynx, and lungs. Do you remember? Yes, for the sake of the production of the speech sounds, whatever the language it is, we as human beings, we are all the time using our body parts. For example, we use lips, tongue, teeth, pharynx, and lungs. If you ask a very common person, how do you speak? I'm sure the answer will be, well, I speak with the help of tongue. And it is possible sometimes he or she says, yes, I move my lips. It is possible he or she is again saying, all right, my teeth are involved. But it is possible that he or she doesn't know what is pharynx. This is what is your job, since you are the student of phonetics and phonology. A young scientist, I always call my students. And after having understood 15 or 16 sessions, now we are in the position to say, all right, what is the role of what speech organ? Okay? And then the second statement says, phonetics is the term for the description and classification of speech sounds. We tried our level best, or rather, I tried my level best to make you understand by describing and classifying all speech sounds. Particularly how sounds are produced, transmitted, and received. And you can recall all the sessions, the previous sessions, especially session number 5 onward to 14. You might have seen that I tried my level best to describe each and every sound, and then I tried to classify each and every sound according to the concepts of phonetics. So that's very important to understand 2 points. One, that we are all the time using various body parts. Alright? In front of you, you've got lips, tongue, teeth, pharynx, and lungs, but there are many other. There are many other. Even there are parts like diaphragm, for example, which are the muscles, of course, close to abdomen. For example, the rib cage, that is supporting the lungs all the time. So this is what now you're in the position to say, all right, these are the body parts. In fact, they are working. They are all the time working in collaboration. And what In fact, we were trying to understand how the sounds are produced, how the sounds are transmitted, and how they are received when somebody who is our listener, he or she is listening to us, all right, and he knows or she knows the concepts behind that. So he can or she can tell us, all right, this is the right way to produce this particular sound or that particular sound. Okay? Now, a phoneme is the smallest unit in the sound system of a language. Phoneme, since we are talking about phonology, a phoneme is the smallest unit in the sound system of a language, of a language. I'm not saying of language or of languages. Of a language, that means particular language. For example, the st sound in the word top, top, T, teacher. Okay? We'll be talking about allophone, but this time we are talking about phoneme. This one single phoneme, that is t. But the use is different. And you have done it. You have analyzed each and every phoneme, all the speech sounds. You have classified them. Remember, various phonetic alphabets have been developed to represent the speech sounds in writing through the use of symbols. That shall be our last concern when we'll be trying to phonetically transcribe the general English. So each alphabet, talking about phonetic alphabet so far as the phonemes are concerned. I'm not talking about English alphabet, but phonemes. So that each and every phoneme has got a symbol, and that makes us understand and makes us how to transcribe general English into phonetic transcription. Okay, with the help of these symbols. We know, for example, in the previous slides what we've done. We tried to understand, all right, there are 24 consonant sounds and we've got a symbol. We know there are 20 vowel sounds traditionally, right, there are the symbols. And we know, all right, this is one pure vowel sound or this is a diphthong. So we try to understand them in accordance with the sign they have, or each and every phoneme has. And then with the combination of certain phonemes, certain symbol signs, we transcribe them. Do you remember the first word I presented during the first session? The word was fish. F-I-S-N-H. It has got 4 letters, but there are 3 phonemes. F, I, sh. Okay? So you can recall, you can close your eyes, you can recall, all right, yes, exactly, this is what we try to understand. Okay? It is interesting to understand, for example, that these symbols are only English symbols. Remember, English is a hybrid language. English is a hybrid language. Always remember, it's a mixture of certain languages. That's why you can see on your screen that some of these symbols are identical to the Roman letters used in many language alphabets. For example, P and B. P and B are, of course, these are the symbols which are used in some more languages, so not necessarily only in English. And at the same time, other symbols are based on the Greek alphabet, such as th, to represent the th sound in thin and thought. Okay, so all the languages are in fact helping each other. In English, you have got many words from Urdu, from Hindi, from Sanskrit, from Arabic, right? For example, let's talk about the word canasta. You people use this word canasta. It is very much in English, that is canister. All right? For example, you might have seen Babu Sahib. That is very much used in English, Babu Sahib. What about Mem Sahab? Mem Sahib. What about roti? What about dhoti? They call it dhoti. But remember, languages are interdependent. That's very important to understand. So these symbols which I'm trying to make you understand, maybe for your extensive study, remember, they are borrowed. But now these symbols, IPA, these are called IPA symbols so far as English is concerned. And then, for example, still others have been specially invented. For example, the symbol the, which is used in the words the and then. Okay? Is it clear? Now let's talk about phonology. We've tried to understand phonetics in a different way by presenting before you certain new dimensions. I tried my level best to make you understand now what exactly is phonetics. Now let's talk about phonology. Always remember that phonology is the term used for the study of the speech sounds used in a particular language. This is what I have been telling you from the day one, that we don't have to mix phonetics with phonology when we are understanding phonetics. We tried to understand phonetics separately, but at the same time I tried my level best to present before you some examples from English language. Why? Because I considered, first of all, since English is our target language and we have to talk about that, and English is your major. That's why I try to give examples from English language. But this time we are absolutely talking about phonology. And whatever my idea was, and whatever I wanted to make you understand, now it is very much clear that phonology is the term used for the study of the speech sounds used in a particular language. So that is very important to understand. When we talk about any particular language, or what we are referring to, phonology, and that's why we are talking about the phonemes of English language. Okay. The second thing, the distinctive accent that many learners of English have are due to differences between the phonological system of their language and that of English. There are certain accents, right? Person to person sometimes varies. For example, if you go to England, you're living in London, one person has got his or her own accent. It is possible the person living in Pontefract or Liverpool or Belfast, remember, he or she has got his own accent or her own accent. But remember, by considering this very aspect, I still remember I try to present before you the model which is very much available in the books worldwide, the model which is very much available in the dictionaries. Of course, one particular dictionary I referred to you and I suggested you to have maybe online, whatever. Okay, so phonological systems are sometimes when we talk about the accent, but you know, we are not the native speakers, and I requested you not necessarily that we can speak English the way the British people speak or the American people speak. Our primary concern is to understand the concepts behind phonetics and of course phonology. At the same time, you can speak and you can try to learn fair English, that may be Pakistani English, whatever you call it, okay? But you should be knowing what are the concepts ruling phonetics and phonology, okay? Now this is what I was talking about, that from birth we learn to recognize and produce the distinctive sounds of our own language. We know what is what speech sound of my own language. We know that. We know Aleph is different from Bay is different from Pe, or Pe is different from Te, Jim is different from He, something like that. We recognize, and that's why we can produce. We produce distinctive sounds, isn't it? So we make distinction always. Always remember, all these sounds are distinctive so far as our own language is concerned. And at the same time, I also told you that we do not need to give any thought to how to have the lips, tongue, teeth, etc. working together to produce the desired sounds. So tell me, did you ever try to think about that how my teeth are working, my tongue is working, my lips are working to produce any sound of my own language? Hardly we think about these things, right? And at the same time, the physical structure of parts of the sound system are adapted to produce native language sounds. Now that's very important. The physical structures are very important. And we talked about the properties of a human speech sounds. So whatever the sound system is concerned, maybe we are talking about Urdu, that is adapted naturally. But hardly we give any thinking or any thought to how that we produce how we move our lips, how we move our tongue, what is the role of our teeth. But we know that because we have adapted it, the sound system of our language. So same is the case with English. Same is the case with the native speakers of English. Okay? One confusion which is all the time talked about, which is all the time analyzed, which is all the time discussed. And what is that confusion? I'd like to read the statement for you people first. English has some speech sounds, of course these are known as phonemes, that do not exist in other languages. So it is no surprise, therefore, that native speakers of those languages have difficulties producing or even perceiving such sounds. Now, this is a confusion, and I believe that most of the learners, whatever the learners are, when they start learning English, the confusion is in front of them. Because what happens, sometimes we don't have those sounds which are in English. And at the same time, we never try to understand, because before this semester, for example, I mean, you hardly tried to understand the symbols and signs, of course, IPA. And difficulties are there. It's quite natural. And what happens when we try to understand and learn the symbols and signs of English language, we find some sort of a problem in the production and perception of sounds. Of course, English sound before that, because we were not conscious about these things. Now you people are conscious about these things. But I'm sure after having understood the concepts which are ruling phonetics and phonology, now you're a different sort of learner. You know now, since this is the target language, this is the foreign language, and we are focusing on English. Now you know, all right, what parts of our body, what speech organs are working when we are talking about some consonant sounds, how the vowel sounds are produced, what is the classification of consonant sounds, and what is the classification if I say, for example, vowel sounds, whether they are front vowels, central vowels, or back vowel sounds. Okay? Now remember, this is particularly true for speakers from language families other than the Germanic one to which English belongs. At the same time, there is one area which I always call the comfort zone for our students. Germanic language. English is one of the Germanic languages. It's very important to understand. Do you remember aggressive, pulmonic? Yes, exactly. It is not ingressive. We do not suck air inside. Whether we are speaking English, whether we are speaking Urdu, we are all the time throwing the air outside. We are pushing the air outside. Okay, so it is quite easier. That's why I always say that is the comfort zone our students have, or rather we have as Pakistanis, that we have. All right, some sound system, some sounds are available in Urdu language, which are in fact English language sounds. Okay, so that is the comfort zone I'm talking about. Now let's have some different dimension this time. You've got a table on left side, we've got phonetics on right side, we have got phonology. The table says phonetics belongs to descriptive linguistics, but phonology belongs to theoretical linguistics. Phonetics is the study of production, transmission, and perception of speech sounds. Phonology is the study of patterns of sounds in different languages. Phonetics, it is concerned with sounds of language. Phonology is concerned with how sounds are organized in a language. Phonetics does not study only one particular language. Phonology, it can study one specific language. Phonetics is the basis for phonological analysis. whereas phonology is basis for morphological, syntactical analysis. Then, number 6 is phonetic transcription is represented as square braces, okay? Brackets are there. Phonemic transcription is represented as slashes, right? So phonemes are written within 2 slashes. Number 7. There are 3 branches of phonetics: articulatory, auditory, acoustics. There are 3 branches of phonology. I shall be talking about them in the coming slides. Inventories, phonotactics, alternation. Phonetics then, number 8, it deals with physical aspects of sounds. So far as phonology is concerned, it deals with mental aspects of mind, mental aspects of sound, sorry. It deals with mental aspects of sound, mental aspects of sounds. I hope you remember abstraction. Abstract, it is mind, it is mind. We will be talking about tone, intonation, stress, word stress, sentence stress, right? The suprasegmentals. Then number 9, it is concerned with vocal tract, phonation type, characteristics of sound, etc. Phonology, it is concerned with allophones. This is what I was talking about. Syllables, intonations, minimal pairs, assimilation, juncture, etc. The suprasegmental aspects, okay? Then number 10, phonetics, it does not concern with meaning. Phonology is concerned with semantics, functions of sounds. Okay? What is phonological inventory? Remember, a phonological inventory is a repertoire of contrastive articulatory and manual gestures shared by a community of users. Whether spoken or signed, all human languages have a phonological inventory. All human languages. Phonology is there. So, all the inventory, all the items are there, whatever the language it is. Alright? To avoid the confusion, now, I want to elaborate. Remember, in spoken languages, the phonological inventory is comprised of a set of segments. Now, segments, segmental and suprasegmental. And the segments are consonants and vowels. And suprasegmentals, stress and intonation, that are linguistically contrastive. Now you understand what is contrastive. Stress is different, intonation different. Either lexically or grammatically in a particular language or one of its dialects. This is very important. If we have got inventory, phonological inventory, segmental and suprasegmental. Segmental, consonants, vowels, suprasegmental, stress, intonation, and many things like this. And then sign languages also have phonological inventories, always remember, which include a set of linguistically contrasting signs, which include a set of linguistically contrastive signs made from movement, hand shape, and location. I repeat, sign languages also have phonological inventories, which include a set of linguistically contrastive signs made from movement, hand shape, and location. You can recall, how do the people who are deaf and dumb, they speak, right? They have got movements, hand signs, yes, exactly, and they know the meaning. So that each movement has got some sort of sign. Is it clear? The second branch was phonotactics, so far as phonology is concerned. Remember, in phonology, phonotactics is the study of the ways in which phonemes are allowed to combine in a particular language. A phoneme is the smallest unit of sound capable of conveying a distinct meaning. Okay? Each phoneme is distinct. So that's why it provides us, it conveys to us a distinct meaning. Okay, we have to separate each and every phoneme. So phonotactics is the study of the ways in which phonemes are allowed to combine in a particular language. So different phonemes get together, they work together, and they present before us some sounds, pattern sounds, maybe in the form of words, or maybe phrases or sentences. Then phonotactic constraints are rules and restrictions concerning the ways in which syllables can be created in a language. When we'll be talking about syllables, you can understand what is phonotactics that is applied over here. All right? Now, what is alternation or alternation? I think you people, and of course all the learners, are engaged all the time, but we are not conscious about this term, in fact, since we do not know the term, but we do the things, right? For example, in linguistics, alternation is a variation in the form and or sound of a word or word part. It's a variation. For example, certain English nouns ending in the consonant "fer" form their plurals with "ver." Right? The ending is what? "fer." But when we make the plural, it is not "fer" but "ver." For example, let's take the word leaf. When you make the plural of leaf, what happens? It becomes leaves. Or for instance, the word knife, the ending is "fer." But what happens? Alternation. It becomes knives. Okay? So we say that such items exhibit an F or ver, fer, ver alternation. That is called fer, ver alternation. When we are talking about the plurals, the ending is "fer," but when plurals are made, what happens? "Fer" is not used, rather it is converted into "ver." That is fer, ver alternation. And then, for example, somewhat different alternation is found in related words like electric, which ends in "cur," and electricity, which has "sir" instead of "cur" in the same position. So converting electric into electricity, what happens? "Cur" is converted into "sir." So that is what we call alternation in phonology. All right? So let's summarize what we have done so far during this session. We have tried to understand that phonetics is the study of the sounds of human language. I repeat, what we have tried to understand is that phonetics is the study of the sounds of human language. This means a classification of all the sounds produced in every language spoken on earth. What we are concerned with, that we try to classify all the sounds which are produced in any language. We are not talking about English or Urdu or maybe any other language. We are talking about human languages. So we can say phonetics is the study of the sounds of human language. That's the new dimension now we understand. By contrast, remember, phonology is the study of the sounds in a particular language. That is one-liner understanding, that by contrast, phonology is the study of the sounds in a particular language. Every language has its own set of sounds or phonemes which can be combined to pronounce any word in that language. So this is what I was talking about, that certain signs, of course phonemes, they work together, they form words, they form sentences, right? But the focused point is that we have to understand that by contrast, when we talk about phonetics, so by contrast, phonology is the study of the sounds in a particular language. That's very important. So every language has its own set of sounds. Yes, you have to call them phonemes, which can be combined to pronounce any word in that language. So the combination of certain signs, symbols, that's very important. in phonology, because they work together. But the most important thing is that we need to understand what are the signs and symbols of each and every sound or each and every phoneme. Without understanding them, without knowing the right, this symbol stands for this particular phoneme. For example, fur should be different from ver, th should be different from the, sir should be different from z. Is it clear? So now we are in the position to summarize that phonetics is the study of the sounds of human language, whereas phonology is the study of the sounds in a particular language. Well, dear students, I hope that you must have tried to focus on what I have said, and I have been telling you that the most important thing is to understand now phonology. But without understanding the traditional 44 sounds of English, it's really difficult to grasp phonological issues. That's why when I talk about the self-assessment component, which is very important, let me tell you time and again, I am telling you time and again that this component is very important. And I guarantee that if you just do these exercises which are given at the end of each and every session, I'm sure that you will be a different graduate by the end of this semester, so far as phonetics and phonology are concerned. So that's why for today's session, my objective is that let's talk about the 44 traditional sounds of English. And I'm sure that if there is still confusion, we can have certain questions during the class, no problem and no issue at all. But this time I want you to read them again and again. Try to have a combination of the written symbols and the sounds each and every symbol has, and then you have to practice. And after practice, what you need to do is that you have to record your voice, and please demonstrate, it's very important that demonstrate. And when you are just producing one sound, what you need to do is that at least there must be 2 key words that when you are recording and you are listening to yourself afterwards, you must be knowing, all right, this is what the sound is, this is what the symbol is, I recognize the symbol, I know what's the sound of the symbol, and this sound is very much present in the keywords which I am reading out. And then record your voice. Please, you can WhatsApp me, no problem at all. You can send me your demonstration, and if there is confusion, I can help you, I can assist you. And then the second component you need to talk about is that you have to analyze and you have to compare phonetics and phonology. So that's very important. We have tried our level best to understand through certain examples. I try to present certain dimensions, new dimensions are there. I try to summarize whatever we have done during this particular session, that is session number 17. And from my side, thank you very much. Goodbye and good luck. Stay blessed.